On February 23, 1945, on the island of Iwo Jima, one of the fiercest battlefields of World War II, the conditions of war became exceptionally harsh for American soldiers in specialized units. The Battle of Iwo Jima was a critical part of the campaign to advance toward Japan, where the U.S. military faced the Japanese Army's heavily fortified and sophisticated defensive positions designed to serve as nearly impregnable fortresses. On this small island, gray-black cliffs, deep underground bunkers, and concrete blockhouses formed a complex defensive network, meaning that any advancing unit faced an extremely high risk of casualties. In this context, the role of flamethrower operators became especially crucial and simultaneously the most dangerous. Soldiers carrying flamethrowers on their shoulders were literal live targets, as the weapon required close proximity to the enemy and exposed the operator completely during combat, making every movement potentially deadly. The flamethrowers used at Iwo Jima, specifically the M2 model, were personal weapons but extremely heavy and difficult to operate. A soldier had to carry roughly 70 pounds, or nearly 32 kilograms, on his shoulders, including fuel and compressed gas tanks. The fuel inside was a mixture of diesel and aviation gasoline, designed to produce a stable, powerful flame for a short duration. However, with the limited fuel supply, each burst of flame lasted only about 7 to 8 seconds, enough to destroy bunkers and tunnels, but just barely sufficient for the soldier to reach the target. The effective range of the flamethrower was about 20 meters, meaning the operator had to advance dangerously close to enemy positions, fully exposed under enemy fire and artillery. This made the flamethrower one of the most perilous weapons, not just for the enemy, but for the operators themselves. Unlike rifles or machine guns, flamethrowers could not be fired from a safe position. The soldier had to stand, move close to enemy bunkers, squeeze the trigger, and direct flames at carefully fortified Japanese positions. Each approach was a life-or-death struggle, because while focusing on spraying fire, all of the operator's movements were observed by the Japanese, and any misstep could result in instant death. Flamethrower operators were often supported by riflemen or protective teams, but even with such support, their chances of survival were slim. In fact, throughout the Iwo Jima campaign, the casualty rate for flamethrower operators reached 92%, the highest in U.S. military history for any specialized unit. This underscores both the extreme danger and intensity of fighting on this small volcanic island. The image of flamethrower soldiers advancing into battle with massive fuel tanks on their backs, thick, protective gear yet visibly burdened by the weight, sometimes crawling through bomb craters, slogging through muddy trenches and facing dense enemy fire, vividly symbolizes the utmost courage in warfare. They had to contend not only with direct enemy fire, but also carefully plan every movement to avoid getting stuck or losing balance under the fuel tank's weight. Even professionally trained soldiers faced extreme stress, as operating a flamethrower demanded high skill, complete mental focus, and the ability to adapt to an ever-changing battlefield. Every step, every squeeze of the trigger, was a life-or-death decision, and many operators perished even after completing their mission. The danger did not come solely from approaching the enemy. The flamethrower's design, with a fuel tank containing a highly flammable mixture, increased the risk of being hit and exploding. A single bullet striking the tank could ignite the operator instantly, turning him into an easy target and creating a horrifying scene on the battlefield. Consequently, flamethrower operators had to consider every second carefully when moving into fortified positions, using terrain for cover, and coordinating with teammates to minimize risk. On Iwo Jima, where the Japanese had constructed reinforced concrete lines and complex underground networks, these challenges were particularly severe. Every bunker and blockhouse was not only a physical obstacle but also a potential ambush point, ready to attack the flamethrower operator at any moment. Furthermore, moving with a flamethrower was extremely difficult. The weight of the equipment restricted mobility, preventing soldiers from running or dodging fire as effectively as riflemen. The fuel and gas tanks also had to maintain stable pressure for flame projection, and any leak could be fatal. Soldiers had to learn to balance their bodies, hold the fuel tank steady while firing, and simultaneously monitor the battlefield to avoid ambushes. All these factors made the flamethrower a weapon that was both powerful and extremely risky, requiring skill, physical strength, and mental fortitude. The tactical importance of the flamethrower at Iwo Jima was significant. Japanese bunkers and tunnels were built to withstand bombs and heavy artillery, making conventional weapons largely ineffective. Flamethrowers became one of the most effective tools to neutralize these positions. Spraying fire directly into a tunnel could cause severe damage, forcing the Japanese to retreat or be destroyed. Thus, flamethrower soldiers were given missions of critical importance, sometimes determining the outcome of an entire local engagement. However, achieving this effectiveness demanded that they take the highest risks, entering heavily defended areas and facing attacks from multiple directions. The life of a flamethrower operator on Iwo Jima was a continuous series of tense moments. They faced the acrid smell of burning fuel, the constant roar of bombs and gunfire, the sight of fallen comrades, and the omnipresent threat of death. Nevertheless, many volunteered for these missions, understanding that the flamethrower was one of the most crucial tools for eliminating enemy fortifications and protecting fellow soldiers. This courage, combined with combat skill and tactical knowledge, made Iwo Jima's flamethrower soldiers a living symbol of bravery in military history. Analyzing the 92% casualty rate illustrates the extreme peril of these missions. In a flamethrower platoon, nearly every soldier faced serious injury or death. This resulted from multiple factors: approaching close to the enemy, exposure while firing, the heavy equipment limiting mobility, higher likelihood of being hit, and the risk of fuel tank explosions. U.S. military commanders understood this, but still employed flamethrowers due to their tactical effectiveness. Destroying a single bunker could save dozens of comrades and create a critical turning point in a localized engagement. The image of Corporal Herschel "Woody" Williams, one of the most renowned flamethrower operators, exemplifies this hazardous context. Carrying a heavy fuel tank, wearing bulletproof armor, and displaying extraordinary bravery, he advanced into Japanese bunkers, sprayed flames, destroyed tunnels, and returned for refueling amidst a hail of bullets and bombs. Williams's actions were not only tactically significant, but also inspirational, reflecting both the lethal danger and power of the flamethrower in life-or-death combat on Iwo Jima. Overall, the battlefield conditions on Iwo Jima, with reinforced underground bunkers, concrete blockhouses, and complex defensive lines, combined with the heavy, flammable, and close-range flamethrower, created an environment where operators faced near absolute danger. Each mission was a survival challenge, each burst of flame a daring advance, and the extraordinarily high casualty rate accurately reflected the lethal nature of this weapon. This provides an essential introduction to understanding the full story of Iwo Jima's flamethrower soldiers, where courage, skill, and survival were pushed to the ultimate limit, vividly illustrating the brutal reality of the Pacific War. Before stepping into life-or-death battles like Iwo Jima, flamethrower soldiers had to undergo a rigorous, grueling, and highly challenging training process, designed to prepare them both physically and mentally for one of the most dangerous assignments in the Pacific theater. Flamethrower training was not only about learning to operate a heavy weapon, but also about developing the ability to withstand pressure, control fear, and coordinate tactics with teammates under extremely hazardous combat conditions. Training usually lasted several weeks, with each hour carefully designed to maximize the soldiers' chances of survival and combat effectiveness. During these courses, trainees practiced essential skills: carrying heavy fuel tanks, accurately firing flames, moving agilely over difficult terrain, and most importantly, responding quickly to unexpected dangers. One of the most critical aspects of training was learning to move with the nearly 32-kilogram flamethrower on the shoulder. Soldiers had to maintain body balance while climbing slopes, crawling through bomb craters, or overcoming obstacles, all while keeping fuel tank pressure stable for a consistent flame. Every movement had to be precise, because even a small mistake in actual combat could be fatal. Training was conducted under rain, mud, and rugged terrain to realistically simulate the harsh conditions they would encounter on Pacific Islands. This not only strengthened their bodies but also instilled combat reflexes, teaching them how to protect themselves and their comrades while advancing into enemy defenses. In addition to physical training, mental and psychological preparation played a decisive role. Flamethrower operators had to confront fear directly when facing the roar of artillery, exploding bombs, and blazing flames. In training, they were often placed in simulated situations, standing among protected targets and required to spray fire under time pressure while being attacked from multiple directions. The goal was to develop absolute calm, intense focus, and the ability to make rapid decisions in extreme stress, a matter of survival. As at Iwo Jima, the Japanese were ready to attack any exposed flamethrower operator, and a single moment of hesitation could be fatal. Team coordination was another essential element. A flamethrower operator could not act alone. They were always supported by riflemen, machine gunners, or comrades carrying grenades. During training, they learned to move in formation, identify cover, coordinate attacks on bunkers and tunnels, and maintain communication using hand signals or sounds amid smoke and explosions. This synchronized teamwork reduced the risk of ambush and increased combat effectiveness, since the flamethrower had a limited range, and if an operator became stuck or lost balance, the entire team could be exposed to enemy fire. Tactical coordination often made the difference between life and death on the battlefield. One particularly challenging aspect of training was approaching targets under simulated fire. Instructors used dummy rounds, flares, and obstacles to replicate real combat conditions, forcing flamethrower operators to move constantly, seek cover, and aim their flames accurately. This process tested not only physical endurance but also judgment, reaction speed, and tactical memory. Soldiers had to quickly assess situations, decide on their approach, determine the safe moment to pull the trigger, and remain aware of teammates' positions to avoid endangering the unit. These skills were vital, as every bunker at Iwo Jima was heavily fortified, with Japanese forces hidden in tunnels, and the smoke-filled battlefield severely limiting visibility. Without trained reflexes and coordination, survival chances were slim. Flamethrower operators also trained for the highest-risk scenarios, such as fuel tank leaks or potential explosions. These exercises were conducted with safety models, but aimed to build automatic, correct responses in real combat. Soldiers learned how to remove tanks, move out of danger, or adjust fuel pressure to prevent accidents. This training instilled confidence, as every burst of flame was not only a tactical mission but also a life-or-death decision. Soldiers needed to understand every detail of their weapon, from operation to potential hazards, and maintain constant vigilance. Another crucial aspect was cultivating self-sacrifice and responsibility toward comrades. Trainees were reminded that they were living targets, but also a vital tactical tool for breaching enemy lines. Their mission was to clear the way for those behind them, destroy bunkers and tunnels, and accept personal risk to protect the lives of many others. This mental preparation fostered extraordinary courage and determination to complete the mission, regardless of imminent danger. Thanks to such discipline and bravery, many flamethrower operators became living heroes in life-or-death battles like Iwo Jima. Training also included practice in night operations and complex terrain, as Iwo Jima featured steep cliffs, deep craters, and intricate underground tunnels. Soldiers had to learn to move silently, identify enemy positions with limited visibility, and aim flames precisely without endangering teammates. This skill was critical because the Japanese frequently ambushed from tunnels, exploiting every terrain advantage. A well-trained flamethrower operator could enter these areas, destroy bunkers, and maintain safety for themselves and their unit, while an untrained soldier would be vulnerable to instant death. Overall, flamethrower training combined physical conditioning, weapon operation, combat reflexes, tactical coordination, psychological control, and the cultivation of selflessness. These challenges prepared soldiers not only to face the mortal dangers of the battlefield, but also to become extraordinary, courageous, and resilient individuals, ready to confront some of the fiercest combat of World War II. This foundation was crucial for flamethrower operators to survive and complete their missions on Iwo Jima, where skill, bravery, and survival instincts were pushed to their ultimate limits. When American soldiers set foot on the black sands of Iwo Jima, they immediately realized that this was no ordinary battle. The Japanese, fully aware of the island's strategic value, had prepared a sophisticated and ruthless defense system, turning every hill, cliff, and stretch of sand into deadly ambush points. They built a network of bunkers, underground tunnels, and intricate passageways, connected by secret routes that allowed Japanese troops to move undetected. Each bunker was equipped with machine guns, rifles, mines, and grenades, ready to unleash a hail of fire on anyone daring to approach. These tunnels not only protected the soldiers, but also created a terrifying effect for flamethrower operators, as flames reflected within enclosed spaces, dramatically increasing the risk of severe burns and smoke inhalation. The Japanese defensive tactics at Iwo Jima were completely different from what American soldiers had encountered on other islands. Instead of resisting on the beaches, they retreated into deep tunnels, exposing only small parts of bunkers as bait. Flamethrower operators had to advance toward these positions while under constant fire from machine guns and rifles. Every step was a life-or-death decision, as ahead could lie an ambush or a tunnel packed with soldiers ready to attack. Limited visibility due to smoke, dust, and flames made target identification extremely difficult. Soldiers had to constantly observe, anticipate enemy positions, and adjust their movement, all while carrying heavy fuel tanks and preparing to fire at any moment. The danger did not come only from direct fire. The terrain itself was among the greatest real hazards. Steep cliffs, deep craters, and rugged volcanic fields forced soldiers to crawl, climb, and maneuver under extreme exhaustion. Each step risked slipping, exposing themselves to the enemy or damaging their equipment. In addition, the intense heat from flames, the acrid smell of smoke, and the psychological pressure exerted tremendous strain on both body and mind. While advancing toward bunkers, soldiers had to maintain absolute focus, assessing every detail from the positions of comrades, the direction of flame, to the enemy's potential counterattacks. One small mistake could result in immediate injury or death, and the flamethrower operator was always at the front, the most obvious target. Japanese bunkers were specifically designed to resist flamethrowers. They often had small entrances, limited ventilation, and heat-resistant materials, causing flames to reflect or disperse ineffectively if not applied with precision. This required the operator to approach closely, find the exact point to apply fire, and coordinate with teammates for cover and protection. They had to judge each flame burst, each plume of smoke, adjust distance and angle, and even temporarily retreat if the situation became too dangerous. Every bunker presented a unique challenge, and after hours of combat, many flamethrower operators were wounded or killed due to a single lapse in judgment under fire. The threat was further amplified by the Japanese's unpredictability and audacity. When a flamethrower was exposed, they often attacked with grenades or threw explosives from bunker entrances, attempting to knock back or injure the operator. Some bunkers were even equipped with internal explosives to neutralize advancing attackers. Flamethrower soldiers had to fire accurately while calculating timing and positioning, as a prolonged flame could leave them vulnerable from multiple directions. Survival depended on skill, agility, instant reflexes, and seamless coordination with the support team. No one could act alone, and every wrong decision could lead to disaster. In addition to bunkers, the network of tunnels and underground passages posed indirect dangers. Enemies could move unexpectedly, appearing from behind or from hidden exits the operator could not see. Operators had to remain alert to sounds, vibrations, and smoke, and be ready to react to any threat. In many cases, bunkers thought to be neutralized became traps, as flames spread into narrow passages, almost trapping the operator, forcing them to retreat under cover or confront the enemy directly. This is why experience, focus, and situational judgment were crucial survival factors. Beyond firepower and terrain, the continuous psychological pressure was also a real hazard. Flamethrower operators constantly witnessed comrades being injured or killed while they had to maintain their mission, spraying fire to destroy bunkers and clear paths for reinforcements. Every moment threatened their lives, requiring control of fear, sustained concentration, and decisiveness. Hesitation could mean death or cause casualties for the entire unit. It was the combination of physical danger and mental stress that created one of the harshest combat environments in World War II. The combat journey of the flamethrower operators at Iwo Jima was a continuous series of challenges, where every moment was a struggle for survival. The moment they landed on the beach, they realized that their mission was not just to advance, but also to fight against fear, exhaustion, and extreme physical hazards. Japanese bunkers stretched across the slopes and hills, seemingly endless, each one presenting a new challenge, protected by heavy fire, mines, and grenades. Flamethrower operators had to move skillfully, using the terrain for cover, constantly scanning gaps and loopholes to identify enemy positions. Any mistake could turn them into easy targets for the highly trained Japanese shooters. Advancing from bunker to bunker, the operators had to approach tunnels with heavy fuel tanks on their shoulders, their hands tense with each breath. Every burst of flame was a life-or-death decision, as firing too early or too late could backfire, exposing them to enemy fire. Many were seriously wounded in the first bunkers, as flames reflected back from tunnel entrances or fragments of enemy bullets struck them. Yet they had to continue because destroying the bunkers was essential for comrades to advance and reduce overall casualties. Each step forward was a silent sacrifice, a battle against oneself and against death. Life-or-death moments occurred not only outside bunkers, but also within tunnels and underground passageways. The Japanese exploited the complex terrain from narrow corridors to dead ends, creating lethal traps. Flamethrower operators had to crawl, maneuver, and sometimes move on hands and knees or even lie prone to avoid direct fire. In many instances, they were injured when slipping or toppled by the weight of their fuel tanks, forcing teammates to pull them to safety under heavy fire. Seemingly safe tunnels could become deadly traps as flames spread into tight passages, nearly trapping operators between fire and enemy forces. These situations demanded rapid responses, combining skill, experience, and survival instinct. The psychological pressure at Iwo Jima was equally severe. Flamethrower operators constantly witnessed comrades being wounded or killed before their eyes, sometimes due to a single moment of hesitation or error. The screams, gunfire, black smoke, and acrid smell of burning created a haunting environment, where fear and tension never let up. They had to maintain absolute focus, avoid panic, and act decisively in every movement. This composure was not only critical for survival, but also determined the success of the mission. One precise burst of flame or one correct step could clear the way for the entire unit. Sacrifice was unavoidable. Many flamethrower operators fell while destroying bunkers, sometimes immediately after completing their mission. Some were severely wounded but continued to advance out of responsibility for their comrades, despite pain and exhaustion. Their sacrifices were a testament to extraordinary courage, as each soldier faced death to protect others and accomplish vital objectives. These moments, though soaked in suffering, highlighted teamwork and resilience, allowing the unit to sustain combat effectiveness in one of the fiercest battles of World War II. The combat journey of the flamethrower operators also showcased tactical skill and exceptional fighting spirit. They did not simply spray flames to destroy bunkers. They had to coordinate closely with teammates, share information on enemy positions, direct movements, and provide support when one was in danger. Every moment was a test of skill, reflexes, and survival instincts. There was no room for hesitation, no safe retreat except to keep moving forward. They fought step by step, bunker by bunker, tunnel by tunnel, with every small victory paid for in sweat, blood, and tears. At the end of each day, the surviving flamethrower operators looked back at the blood-soaked path they had traversed, recognizing the sacrifices of their comrades and the significance of the missions completed. Every bunker destroyed, every tunnel neutralized, was a crucial step toward capturing Iwo Jima. They understood that, despite the pain and loss, it was their courage, combat skills, and extraordinary bravery that had allowed them to survive and contribute to the overall victory. The combat and sacrifices of the flamethrower operators at Iwo Jima were not just a story of fire and explosions. They were a vivid testament to human will in the face of extreme danger, where each soldier became a symbol of courage and indomitable fighting spirit. The consequences of the Battle of Iwo Jima for the flamethrower operators were profound and long-lasting, affecting them not only physically but also psychologically. They faced severe injuries from enemy fire, shrapnel, and severe burns caused by the very weapons they wielded. Many survivors carried lifelong scars, from permanent disabilities to respiratory problems caused by smoke and toxic dust. The horrific experiences on the battlefield also left enduring psychological effects. Trauma, anxiety, nightmares about tunnels, bunkers, and the moments confronting death became haunting memories. Some struggled with survivors' guilt, witnessing comrades fall or having to carry out missions that resulted in death. However, alongside the tragic consequences, the battle left a powerful legacy of combat spirit and courage. The flamethrower operators at Iwo Jima became living symbols of bravery, self-sacrifice for their comrades, and determination to overcome extreme danger. They demonstrated that skill, rigorous training, and resilient willpower could enable survival and even victory in the most perilous situations. This legacy is remembered not only in historical records, documentaries, and books, but also continues to inspire generations of U.S. soldiers and military scholars about the courage and fighting spirit required on the battlefield. Moreover, the experience of these operators contributed to the development of tactics and combat skills in subsequent conflicts. Military commanders learned the importance of close coordination among combat teams, integrating specialized weapons to destroy enemy fortifications, and maintaining unit cohesion under harsh conditions. The use of flamethrowers at Iwo Jima illustrated their effectiveness in eliminating bunkers and reinforced the risks and limitations that needed to be considered in operational planning. Their legacy extends beyond the military sphere. Stories of their courage, perseverance, and self-sacrifice have become part of the collective memory of World War II. They remind future generations of the value of bravery in the face of danger, teamwork, and responsibility toward the mission, no matter the risks or challenges. Many veterans and their families continue to recount these stories, inspiring others with examples of steadfast courage and unwavering dedication. Finally, the Battle of Iwo Jima and the role of the flamethrower operators stand as a vivid testament to the human cost of war. Their blood, sweat, and sacrifice paved the way for victory, while also serving as a sobering reminder of immeasurable loss. Their legacy is not only one of military success, but also a lesson in human willpower, the courage to confront fear, and the endurance of suffering to accomplish a mission. They became enduring symbols of the fighting spirit, and their stories will live on in historical memory, reminding us of the value of sacrifice and indomitable resolve in the harshest moments of war.